yes, indeed, President Ramaphosa says he's received many messages from people saying that the legal drinking age should be lifted to 21. He's suggested that there should be a national debate around the issue. The president has said that the legal drinking age could rise. He was speaking at the mass funeral for the victims of the Enyobeni Tavern Tragedy in the Eastern Cape. And of course, those teenagers lost their lives, raising questions about why some of the younger ones were being allowed in and served alcohol in the first place. Many have bemoaned a culture that makes minor drinking a norm in many communities in South Africa. To discuss, we're joined by Professor Charles Parry, who is the director of the Alcohol, Tobacco and Other Drug Research Unit at the South African Medical Research Council. Professor, thank you for being with us. Is the discussion about age, firstly, not a bit of a red herring? Because whatever the legal age, right now, taverns and other establishments are serving alcohol to minors, to people who don't meet that age requirement, some of them as young as 12, 13.
Yes, it's only one of the issues to look at, the age of which alcohol can be sold in South Africa.
Yeah, exactly.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, because it won't make establishments enforce it by lifting the age. They're not enforcing the current age. You can continue.
Yes, okay, thank you. Yeah, I think there's a whole range of issues that certainly were brought to our attention with the Enyobeni tragedy. And I think only one of them was the issue of underage drinkers. And certainly that's something we should look at. And part of that involves inspections of outlets, inspections by the police, inspections by liquor inspectors. And then there's the view that, well, they haven't got the resources to do that. Well, we have to find the resources, perhaps by raising the license fees based on the amount of alcohol sold. And I think we could certainly get more money to pay for inspectors. We also have to look at the issue of the hours of sale. And certainly this outlet was operating beyond the hours of sale, and that's also part of the problem. We also have the issue of needing to strengthen families and help parents to monitor their kids' behavior better. So part of it's strengthening families. Part of it is looking at our national legislative framework. So I think the other area was policing. Where were the police in this community after 2 a.m. in the morning? Did they not have the resources? Were they not interested in going out and seeing what's going on? Did they not know what's going on? So I think there are problems at all levels. And the community probably knew this sort of thing went on. Maybe they felt disempowered to do anything about it. So I think there are many problems that this Enyobeni Tavern situation raises, and the drinking age just one of a number of things we've got to fix.
All right, just one of the issues, but what do you think then about the idea that perhaps 21 should be the new age limit?
It's certainly worked in some countries like the USA, where they have a 21-year age, when they lifted it to 21, they found it did make a difference. And New Zealand, when they dropped it from 21, I think, down to 19, they found it also, there were more problems, alcohol-related injuries and drink driving incidents involving young people. I would say that we should probably start with a 19-year age restriction and see how that goes. It won't work though unless there's proper enforcement, unless there's perhaps a carding system where young people can show that they've got they verify their age. And so, it's certainly one thing, but it's not a magic bullet that's going to solve the problem overnight. I think there's a whole contextual issue that we have to look at, including things like the lack of recreation in these communities and the cheap alcohol, the marketing practices, and the lack of consequence to outlets that sell alcohol in ways that don't meet their license requirements.
I'm very interested in what you say about the United States, because I've heard the opposite, that sometimes kids don't learn to handle alcohol, then they go to college, they're 21, and there's a lot of intoxication. And anomalies have been brought up. You can drive a car at 18, you can sign contractual documents, you can handle a gun, you can fight a war, but you can't drink. So is that fair, or are you saying actually the research says that it works?
Well, the research has shown that it's effective, but obviously you will get pushback. And overall, though, from a public health point of view, it's an effective it's an effective measure. Certainly, we want to do things like to separate young people drinking and driving. They're learning to drink, they're learning to drive. And so another measure that could also be implemented and has been implemented in some countries is you have a lower allowable blood alcohol level for younger drivers than older people to separate those two events. But I agree with you. Ideally, people will take responsibility for their behavior. But I don't think we can necessarily just leave it to young people to make the right decision. So if at a public health level, raising it to 21, raising it to 19 would make a difference, we shouldn't be afraid to do things like that if they're going to improve the lives of young people and have an impact.
Sure, but a final challenge, Prof, as people who look at corruption often say, the more laws you have or the more stringent they are, the more avenues you give for people to make money off breaking the law firstly, and the more otherwise lawfully abiding citizens that are tempted to flout the laws. So shouldn't we be minimal but focus right now on enforcement?
Yeah, I mean, certainly. I mean, I think the starting place would be to look at our management of licensed outlets, and then to also deal with the issue of unlicensed outlets in this country. Raising the drinking age to 21 wouldn't be the top of my list of things to do. It might be one of 20 things to consider, but there'd be a whole lot of things probably that I would consider before doing that.
Yeah, thank you so much. Professor Charles Parry from the South African Medical Research Council.